Welcome to the Church Communications Podcast, a podcast that celebrates church communicators that are around the world. Our podcast offers practical advice for your church communication strategy needs. And this podcast is brought to you by Katie Allred and Josh Taylor of churchcommunications.com. Welcome to the Church Communications Podcast. I'm Katie Allred, and as always, I have my friend Josh Taylor here with me.
Hey, Katie.
Hey, Josh.
Hey.
How's it going?
It's good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm okay.
Yeah?
Yeah, just hanging in, talking about giving.
Enjoying your summer?
Enjoying my summer, It's coming to a close way too quickly.
Yes, it's going fast.
Which is the worst.
It is.
And, but
It's
anyway.
been busy.
So today we are talking about texting and giving.
I just got a text.
Did you just get a text?
I've actually been watching your phone blow up with texts.
The whole time?
The whole time.
I'm really sorry.
It's just constantly going off.
Really? Do you think, am I really that popular, do you think?
No, I don't know. Either that or you're on a bunch of text marketing things, which...
I think it's email.
It might be.
Well, I think I'm getting like a ton
You
of email.
totally messed up my segue then.
It could be texting. You're right. What's your segue?
So how often people check their texts?
Yeah.
So texting and in the church, using text in the church, I don't think churches use texting enough. In fact, I would say probably most churches are not using texting at all.
I completely agree. Let's be honest here, though. I feel like most marketing things, like most companies, aren't using texting to the full advantage that they could be.
No, absolutely. One, I think we forget that we can do it because we're so focused on social media or email marketing that we forget that we can do
like that
text marketing.
That texting. Oh, texting's the whole thing, right? Yeah. Like that's important. So we're gonna just jump into like some texting statistics and just how it affects the church. Okay, so the number one stat here is that texting is the most widely used and frequently used app on a smartphone, with 97% of Americans using it at least once a day. So that means 97% of us understand how to use texting.
My 85-year-old grandmother texts
text
me more than she calls me.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I believe 97% of people are using text on their phone.
Right. And then people worldwide send 8.3 trillion text messages in just this year alone. That's almost 23 billion text messages a day, or 16 million text messages per minute.
Yeah.
So over 6 billion text messages are just sent in the U.S. each day.
Yeah.
So
here's the one that I think matters the most to churches.
Yes.
Text messages have a 98% open rate, while email has only a 20% open rate, and I think 20% is generous.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I think 16% is actually the going rate for a nonprofit.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. And so that matters to us because a lot of people, they're getting the push notifications of text on their phone. My wife can go 4 days without checking her email, but she can't ignore a text.
Right.
So, that is a really effective way to get your message in front of people, to get them to at least see it and read a keyword, which means, structuring your text is really important too, to make them actually want to read it when they open up the notification.
Right.
But that's a super effective marketing strategy, is to use texting, and I think most churches are barely using it, if using it at all.
Right. Yeah, and there's definitely a lot of different ways that you can use it, and one of those ways is giving. And so just using it as a call to action on your Sunday morning, setting up a keyword for a specific campaign or even for just general giving, just figuring out ways that you can communicate why text to give even exist, I think is really important.
Yeah, I think people prefer to text today than talk on the phone. Honestly, for some people, especially with millennials and probably younger, you can text them a welcome, and they're totally fine with that. You're not giving them a phone call. In fact, I usually hate talking on the phone. I would rather a text. So you could probably just shoot them a text on that Monday and say, hey, thanks so much for visiting us yesterday. Here's a link to our website, and do that instead of an email. I think that's a great way to invite, especially younger, new visitors in.
Do you think there's a way to text give, or to text your congregation to give that isn't hokey, like that isn't like just a cheap way of asking people for money?
I think it depends on the context and depends on what you're trying to do. For me, I am, to the point, let's get to it. So if it were me getting a text, I would just want to say, hey, if you want to give online quickly and conveniently, here's a link to do that.
Well, too, I think setting up a story, right? You can even send a picture and a text message, right?
Yeah, that's true.
You can easily send pictures now, too, in most texting platforms. You can send a picture and just say, hey, this week we're supporting our friends at Light of the Village or whatever ministry you're supporting. Here's a picture of, the thing that we're giving 20 backpacks or something. If you want to help us out, we'd really appreciate it. Here, we set this up on Sunday morning. Let's just remember to be faithful to give this week.
It's a great way to increase engagement and investment during the week and not just happening on your church days, whether that's Saturday, Sunday,
Want a giving solution that inspires generosity without blowing through your budget? Kindred's offering a totally free $0 per month online giving account for our church communications listeners. That's right, you get online giving for free.
Look, this is a special offer, so act fast. Go to kindred.com/churchcommunications to join. That's kindrid.com/churchcommunications, and you can join there.
Okay, so Kindred believes generosity is one of the most powerful witnesses to the gospel. It transforms communities. We believe that too. That's why they created this deal. They make it affordable for you to equip 100% of your church to participate in your vision.
Remember, this offer won't last long, so go to kindred.com/churchcommunications and save thousands with an exclusive deal.
Yeah, we can't wait. So, text messages, most of them are read within 5 seconds.
Yeah, that I would say, unless you're doing a podcast.
Unless you're doing a podcast, then they might be read within 10 seconds.
But yeah, I mean, again, it's a really effective way to get your message in front of people. It's a really effective way to engage people quickly, to make sure that they at least open it and see whatever you're wanting to get them to see. And these stats have been around for a while, and for some reason the church is just not tapped into texting. I mean, even push notifications. If you have an app, I think that's probably the most underutilized feature in an app or online giving platform is push notifications, which is similar to text.
Yeah. They even have this 2012 study found, so 2012, right? So this is kind of old, kind of dated, but it said that the text was the highest rated contact method for customer satisfaction out of all other customer communication channels. Text earned 90 out of 100 points, while phone earned 77 out of 100 and Facebook earned just a 66. So being able to text back and forth with your church, I think would be really important for just, congregation satisfaction.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's underutilized. Churches need to do more of it and be conscientious of how you structure. I don't think they need to be long text.
Right.
We don't send text back. In fact, we make fun of people when they send us a text that's super long and say, hey, thanks for sending me a biography.
Yes.
But so they need to be to the point.
Right.
They need to be quick. We use texting for convenience. We use texting for quick responses. And so consider that as you utilize your texting. But find a software that does texting really well and start utilizing it in your church.
Have you ever texted with a company?
Yes, I have.
Okay.
Usually it's some sort of a survey.
Okay, usually a survey?
Yeah.
Like they're asking you to do a survey?
Yeah, they're asking me to do a survey.
Like a Google
and it's usually
review
like
of some
a Y or N, yes or no. And you just text back a letter and they send you another question. You text back yes or no.
I have texted with a customer support before through Chaco. So that was a really interesting. I've never once chatted with support via text message before. I've done it through the online things, right? They have the chat bubble or whatever. Well, they emailed me back and they were like, text this number, which I thought was funny. Instead of emailing you back and forth, they were like, text us and we'll connect you with a support rep. And so I texted them and I was like, this is what's going on with my shoe. And they were like, send me a picture. So I sent them a picture, it was like a normal texting conversation, with a
Actually,
person.
yes, I have done that with one because I had a customer. I had a order that was messed up, and that I had sent them a screenshot or took a picture of it and texted it to them. So I have done that before, and it was super convenient.
Yeah. And then at the end they were like, and fill out this form, whatever. Here you go. That was it. The end and whatever. And I was like, wow, that was so much more personable. It felt like, even though it was exactly the same process that they had before. Yeah. It wasn't like, we've all chatted with chat support or a ticketing system online. It's not like it's any different. However, it felt more personal because I was doing it on my phone for some reason.
And I think for most churches, we're going to be using text to send out, online giving opportunity, or to remind them about an event that's coming up. We're probably not going to be too engaged in back and forth texting with that. And if you do get into that, you need to be careful with it because, even for me, I hate having long conversations through text because oftentimes you don't have the tone of the person, which makes a big difference. Right. And so sometimes you might be getting into deep spiritual conversations with people, and doing that over text can sometimes be dangerous because, obviously tone and all of that context matters. So you need to be able to hear the tone of people's voices too.
But I think it's a great place. You can at least start the conversation. Yeah. You can ask for prayer requests. I think that's always really helpful, is to ask for prayer requests. There's a church locally here in town that does that weekly, and I always appreciate the fact that they're at least caring to ask. Yeah. And two, if you want to look at like a group or a company, I think that's doing texting weekly really well. So, you might send out an email newsletter every week, and I think email newsletters are fine, but I think, the text newsletter might be the next thing, right? And so I think a company that does it really well is actually a local company here in Mobile. It's a Mobile Rundown. Yeah. They send a text out every week, and it's a short text that says, I think it said like 4th of July this week, got plans, and it had a link over to their main webpage, right, that has all the list of events. You could easily do the same thing for your church. You don't have to always put together like this whole graphic. You can send them over to your website that's already done. Or even at the University of Mobile, they had a weekly rundown that was they just made like a Microsoft Word document that had a list of all the dates and events of things that were going on campus. So it doesn't have to be, I think we overcomplicate things when we're communicating things to our congregation, and I don't think it has to be that complicated. Yeah,
I would encourage you, if you have text-to-give capabilities or texting capabilities through your church, maybe a software online giving portal that you use, in the next 2 weeks, send out a text with your newsletter. So maybe your upcoming events, or reminding people about something that's coming up, and see, what's the open rate of that and how much more successful it is. I'd be interested to know what that is. And if you're using texting already, let us know how it's going for you versus email or some other method that you use to communicate, and let us know how successful you've been and what are the creative ways that you use texting for your church. But start this week, or maybe in the next 2 weeks, send out a newsletter just with your top 3 biggest events, letting people know about them, and see what the response that you get is. Yeah. So. Cool. So start using texting. It's underutilized, and I think it will make a big difference almost immediately in the response that you get from folks.
Thank you for joining us today. You can find us on churchcommunications.com, find us on our Facebook page, our group. You can give us a 5-star review on iTunes if you're feeling really nice today. And we appreciate you just joining us. So thank you. Our friends at Kindred are being crazy generous. If you tweet @_Kindred, again, that is @KINDRID_Kindred, and tell them why you need a church app, they'll make sure you get one of those too, for free. Okay? Did you hear that? Online giving and a church app for free. Just tweet @_Kindred and tell them why you need a church app.
Hey, thanks for listening to the Church Communications Podcast with Katie Allred and myself, Josh Taylor. If you like our show and want to know more about us, check out our website, churchcommunications.com. You can also join us on our Facebook group. Just search for Church Communications on Facebook, and we would love for you to leave a 5-star review on iTunes.